that made headlines during the week. I'm Teniola Shobowale. The headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari hosts political appointees at a valedictory service after directing ministers pursuing political careers to resign. House of Representatives aligns with Senate and amends Electoral Act for statutory party delegates. Academic Staff Union of Universities extends strike by 12 weeks as President Buhari appeals the suspension of industrial action. Plus, President Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan of the United Arab Emirates dies at the age of 73. That's News Round in View. Newsround begins with the directive given by President Muhammadu Buhari asking all members of the Federal Executive Council running for elective office to submit their letters of resignation on or before Monday, the 16th of May, 2022. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, made the announcement after the Federal Executive Council meeting.
Armed with their memos, the ministers seated in the council chamber have converged for the usual business of the day, unprepared and oblivious of what the president had in store. During the meeting behind closed doors, the 2023 elections undoubtedly was central as the president dropped the big news, as announced by the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed.
My mandate for today is that all members of the Federal Executive Council contesting for elective office must resign their ministerial cabinet appointments on or before Monday, the 16th of May, 2022.
But this directive does not include the vice president.
He was not appointed, he was elected, so he remains. But any other member of the Federal Executive Council aspiring either to be president or senator or governor or any elective office must submit a state of resignation latest by the 16th.
The Information Minister also declines to comment about the fate of political appointees.
It might affect other, categories of political appointees, but that will be made known. I believe that Mr. President has the right to appoint, remove, reshuffle, or change any minister.
Those affected are the Ministers of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, Niger Delta, Gospel Akpabio, Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, Minister of State for Education, Emeka Nwajuba, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, Minister of State for Petroleum, Timipre Silva. Others are Ministers of State for Mines and Steel, Uche Oga, who's running for governorship position in Abia State, the Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talon, who has declared her ambition to contest for the senatorial seat in Plateau State.
By implication, a good number of ministers who have picked up their expression of interest and nomination forms are expected to unfailingly resign in a matter of days. And most logically, it is expected that the president would reconstitute his cabinet either by reshuffling or appointing, particularly for key ministries like Ministry of Labour and Productivity, still struggling to negotiate with ASUU. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
And after President Muhammadu Buhari gave the marching order to political appointees asking them to resign, it received the outgoing ministers at the council chambers of the presidential villa, where a valedictory session was held on their behalf. President Buhari thanked the outgoing public officers for their sacrifice and compliance to its earlier directive, and he also announced that he will be replacing the ministers that are leaving.
The arrival of 9 ministers to the council chamber for what is a valedictory session for those leaving the cabinet to pursue political ambitions quells every doubt about their exit. The Minister of State for Education, Mr. Emeka Nwajuba, the first to have officially tendered his resignation, was manifestly absent as the President, Muhammadu Buhari, walks in to bid them farewell and promised quick replacements.
The departure of some cabinet members has undoubtedly created a vacuum that should be filled, that would be carried without delay, so that the business of governance will not suffer. For members of the cabinet that are remaining on board, I wish to remind you that the journey to the finish line is very far, and this calls for more diligence, resilience, and commitment to serve Nigerians better.
President Buhari stamped a vote of confidence on the outgoing appointees, noting that they are sufficiently competent to aspire for higher offices.
I have no doubt that if the next president emerges from among former members of this cabinet, like any other aspirant, ample competence and outstanding service delivery would be on display. This will be part of our legacies to Nigerians.
The body language of some of the outgoing ministers who are yet to put in their resignation depict uncertainty.
I'm making a statement that we cannot allow men to deny women of their rightful positions.
So you have resigned?
I've not yet resigned.
Other outgoing appointees have simply embraced reality.
It's an uncommon withdrawal coming so suddenly, and of course it's also a good omen for the country, and it's a period I describe as sadness and joy. It's an opportunity for us to go out there and tell the story of President Buhari and what they have been striving to do.
The president reminded during the session how painstaking the process of selecting his cabinet was, both in 2015 and 2019 when he was re-elected. With a little less than a year left, it is expected that the president make informed choices that can efficiently continue with the mandate. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has amended the Electoral Act 2022 to allow statutory delegates, or those elected, to participate and vote in the conventions, congresses or meetings of political parties. The bill was passed by the Senate on Tuesday. There was, however, a slightly rowdy session in the Green Chamber as lawmakers rejected another amendment.
The House of Representatives holds an emergency plenary session with the Deputy Speaker presiding to consider and pass an amendment to the Electoral Act 2022. But first, an executive session for some housekeeping. About half an hour later, plenary resumes, and the Electoral Act Amendment Bill is speedily passed through first and second reading. However, a rowdy moment occurs when the motion for consideration of the bill is put to vote and majority vote against it.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against any? Colleagues, can we listen to ourselves in silence? We have dropped the other bill that we all agreed not to take.
Apparently, another amendment beyond that of the statutory delegates was before the House, and lawmakers were not having it. The matter is cleared, and the amendment passes.
Only consideration we have before us today is only this section of the law, which has to do with the inclusion of statutory delegates. Nothing more, nothing less.
Outside the chamber, the majority leader gives details of the rejected amendment clause, which generated uproar in the chamber.
I think you are aware the political parties went to INEC to protest and urge INEC to see if they can cut short that length of time, that 180 days. So that was transpired or communicated to us as a leadership, and we contemplated bringing it on the floor to see if we could cut short 180 days as contained in the bill itself, in that particular clause that we were to amend. It was this particular issue in discourse that created uproar. Members said no to it.
He reacts to the appeal court's judgment, which set aside the Abia High Court's ruling, nullifying Section 8412 of the Electoral Act.
We have 3 arms of government, and no one arm of government, no one institution of democracy in Nigeria can dare try to take away the powers of the other. It is in our own constitutional powers to make laws. It is also in our own constitutional powers to be custodians of the laws. And when laws are made by the National Assembly, Terry, no one should dare breach such laws.
The House then observes a minute of silence for civilians and soldiers killed by bandits on the 10th of May in Takum, Taraba State, while urging the federal government to address the manpower dearth in the military. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Ahead of the Ekiti, Osun and the 2023 general elections, the National Security Agency has directed heads of security and law enforcement agencies to scale up security and start profiling of political actors who exhibit tendencies to subvert the electoral process. The NSA was represented by Mr. Sanusi Galadima at a consultative meeting of the Interagency Election Security Committee in Abuja.
Okay, thank you very much.
This is the 5th in a series of consultative meetings organized by the Independent National Electoral Commission. This time, the Commission is meeting with members of the Interagency Election Security Committee in Abuja. The ANEC chairman draws the attention of heads of security agencies to the rising security challenges and urges them to maximize the remaining 9 months to the general elections to scale up security in the country.
The general security situation in the country and its impact on the electoral process is a source of concern to the Commission. However, we are confident that with 9 months to the 2023 general election, there is enough time to respond to the security challenges and secure the nation for elections to take place nationwide. The timetable for the election has been released. Let us not wait until a few weeks to the election before we realize that time is not on our side and begin to seek for extension of timelines.
However, the National Security Advisor, who's represented at this meeting, directs heads of security agencies to profile politicians who exhibit tendencies that threaten the electoral process.
The NSA has noted with utmost concern the growing uncertainty heralding the conduct of party primaries for 2023 elections. This is in addition to the unabated spate of violence that threaten the upcoming up-cycle gubernatorial elections in Ekiti and Osun states. More worrisome is the unguarded utterances of some highly respected individuals and groups, which more often than not amplifies divisive narratives to the detriment of national security and stability. Accordingly, heads of security and law enforcement agencies have been tasked to step up close monitoring and profiling of political actors, no matter how highly placed, who exhibit tendencies that subvert the electoral process, even as talks and other sponsors will equally be trailed for possible arrest and prosecution.
The security challenges in the country is of major concern to the Independent National Electoral Commission. The Commission has had to suspend the ongoing voters' registration exercise in some parts of the country marked by violence.
When Newsround returns in just a moment, Academic Staff Union of Universities extends strike by 12 weeks as President Buhari appeals for suspension of industrial action. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. The Academic Staff Union of Universities will not be going back to the lecture room anytime soon, as the leadership of the union says it's rolling over its strike by extending it for another 3 months. This is coming after what it calls an emergency meeting. The meeting was called to review the warning strike declared on March the 14th, and the union says no progress has been made on the renegotiation of the 2009 federal government ASUU agreement.
February 14, 2020 was a bad Valentine's Day for students in government-owned universities, as lecturers announced a 4-week warning strike, disrupting academic activities across the country. The 4-week strike was extended by 8 weeks, as contained in a statement by the ASUU leadership on March 14, 2022. The lecturers are protesting unpaid earned allowances, university revitalization funding, as well as the operationalization of the University Transparency and Accountability System, UTAS, which is a payment platform designed by the lecturers.
That will waste too much time.
At the resumption of negotiations with the government in March, the ASUU leadership told the federal government that they wanted action and not promises.
Nigerians want to see action. The students want to see action. My members want to see action. I also believe the general public want to see action.
Although the Labour Minister had assured the striking lecturers of the government's determination to end the strike, the universities remain shut almost 3 months after. All hopes of reopening the universities were again dashed, as ASUU extended the strike for another 12 weeks.
Let's welcome the Honourable Minister.
At this news conference on the National Productivity Day in Abuja, the Minister of Labour and Employment said the government had not given up on its reconciliation efforts.
The work is ongoing. Professor Nimibrig have given an interim report to the Ministry of Education and requested for certain things to assist him do his work. From my understanding, the Ministry of Education is addressing the request from Professor Nimi Briggs.
ASUU embarked on one of its longest strikes in 2020, crippling academic activities for a whole session. Many fear a repeat in terms of the longevity of that industrial action and hope that the ongoing impasse will be resolved quickly to prevent a situation where students will again lose another academic year.
Consider the plight of students and call off your ongoing industrial action. That's the appeal from President Muhammadu Buhari to the Academic Staff Union of Universities over the protracted dispute between the union and the federal government. He made the appeal at the 19th National Productivity Day and conferment of National Productivity Order of Merit Awards conferred on 37 individuals and 11 organizations.
President Muhammadu Buhari is guest of honor at the 19th National Productivity Day celebration and conferment of National Productivity Order of Merit Awards, where 48 recipients have converged on the State House.
If you have a professor of agronomy,
top politicians, government officials, and business luminaries are physically present to receive the 2019 and 2020 prestigious awards.
can stand from a distance. Where we are now is okay where we are.
Building his perspectives around the theme, achieving higher productivity through improved educational system, the president acknowledges that there are fundamental challenges within the nation's educational system that diminishes productivity. It is against this premise that the president addresses the ASUU strike.
I want to use this opportunity to call on the Academic Staff Union and the universities to consider the plight of our students and call off the ongoing strike action. I also call on our students to exercise patience as we try to address the nagging issues in our university system within the ambit of the scarce resources available to government.
The guest speaker, Mr. Sylvester Onoja, draws correlation between the education sector and effective productivity.
Do we have the right people planning education? Do we have the right people teaching? Do we have the right people learning? What is the implication of all this to productivity?
All the awardees, you're coming in to my right and exiting to my left. That's what I see.
The president also presented awards to deserving individuals and organizations, like the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, the founder and CEO of Secure ID, Mrs. Kufu Akinkugbe, the chairman and CEO of Airpeace, Allen Oyema, and a posthumous award was also given to Dr. Ameyo Stella Adadevo, who died in the line of duty, saving the country from the Ebola virus, amongst others.
Is a special COVID-19 award.
Other recipients speak on the impact of the awards.
For us is that the way we have conducted the business has been in such an ethical manner, and it's encouraging that this is being recognized, and it only encourages myself and my team to keep pushing and to keep doing what we're doing in the right way and keep expanding.
It will only motivate us to do more. And about job creation is something I'm very passionate about. You talk about insecurity in the country. If everybody is gainfully employed, nobody will be carrying guns and doing some vices.
Highlighting the correlation and importance of education and productivity, critical questions have been raised here. What kinds of skills is Nigeria developing to improve on the economy, as well as who really are the managers of the ministries of education, the national and subnational levels? These are crucial questions that would help ramp up productivity across board. From the Presidential Villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Few hours after President Muhammadu Buhari appealed to the Academic Staff Union of Universities to consider the plight of Nigerian students and call off their industrial action, the federal government met with the leadership of the union as part of efforts to resolve the issue. The meeting, which held at the banquet hall of the State House, Abuja, was chaired by the Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and had in attendance representatives of various ministries of government, religious groups, the Nigeria Labour Congress, and other interest groups.
This is the first time the federal government will be holding an expanded meeting such as this one with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, since the union embarked on an industrial action about 2 months ago. The Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, chairs the meeting and leads the team from the government side. In attendance are the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Alhaji Muhammad Sahad Abubakar, as well as the President of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend Samson Ayokunle, President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Comrade Ayuba Waba, the President of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Professor Emmanuel Osedeke, President of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities, among others.
Long ago,
the Chief of Staff to the President sets the tone for the meeting.
This is not an opportunity to continue to repeat issues where progress has been made, but to really identify where progress has been made and the areas where there are remaining challenges or issues that will be resolved, but all united in one common objective, not for the government, not for ASUU, not for the unions, but for this country.
The Sultan of Sokoto and the President of the Christian Association of Nigeria appealed to ASUU and other unions to back down and call off the strike.
As we all know, at the end of all, there will be no victor, no vanquished. Because the important is to see Nigeria working, to see our educational system back on track.
Please, we are pleading with you that you will respect God in us, you will go back and allow this negotiation to continue to go on.
However, the president of ASUU, Professor Emmanuel Osedeke, and other union leaders believe it is time for government to match words with action.
We can solve this problem in 2 weeks or 1 day, and once we solve it, we'll go back to work.
It will not take more than 24 hours, actually, to be committed to resolve this issue.
The meeting then goes into a technical session. 2 hours later, the session ends. However, the Minister of Labour, who speaks to journalists afterwards, does not give details of what transpired during the closed-door session.
We have reached some agreements, and we hope that by next week, those agreements will be maturing, and the different unions will have something to tell their members so that they can call on the strike.
The body language of those who have attended this meeting shows there could be light at the end of the tunnel, and for the millions of Nigerian students who have been out of classroom for about 2 months, it appears there is a glimpse of hope that the strike may be called off very soon. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
News Round ends with the announcement of the death of the President of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who died at the age of 73. 40 days of mourning has been declared for the late president.
For the next 40 days, flags all over the UAE will fly at half-mast. All ministries, departments, as well as federal, local and private entities will suspend work until Monday, as the country mourns the loss of its president, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the 16th ruler of Abu Dhabi Emirate, who many say was an exemplary leader.
I will say that its nation has lost its father, the father who has devoted himself for the glory of the people and for the prosperity of this particular land.
I'm very saddened with this kind of a thing, because every time you lose such a visionary leader, it looks like you are losing a family member.
In honor of his passing, all forms of entertainment have been cancelled. This includes an exhibition fight between Floyd Mayweather and Don Moore scheduled to hold at the Burj Al Arab on Saturday. Guests who turned up at the hotel to attend the weigh-in for the fighters were turned back as well. Mayweather has since shared his condolences. Sheikh Khalifa served as the president of the UAE and ruler of Abu Dhabi since November 3, 2004, following the death of his father, His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, UAE's first president since the union in 1971. Members of the royal families have been sharing condolence messages on social media as Sheikh Khalifa trends on Twitter. The funeral prayer for the president, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, will be held after Maghrib prayer, and the funeral prayer in absentia will be conducted in all mosques across the UAE. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Maya Wadegoke for Channels Television News.
And that's News Round this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shaboale. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.